Hi, it's Lucy here, and I'm wondering if you're bored of the same old Christmas cards each year. Let's try something different. I have some gorgeous PET and washi tapes from the washi tape shop, so I'll show you all the Christmas ones, and I'm hoping to play with them all before Christmas. I'll be creating with this first one today, and it's called Creekside Farms. I'll have links to them all below as well. There's lots of designs on the one tape and a few sets of each in each roll. This next one is called Fireside, and it has beautiful florals to it as well. This one is a washi tape. The last one was a PET tape, which has a transparent background. There's so many different designs on this tape too. These ones aren't individual stickers like some of the tapes. There's pros and cons to both, and we'll chat about all of that in the videos too. This is another PET tape as it has a transparent background again. It's so cute, and I'm excited to create with all of these tapes. Another difference between washi and PET tapes is that washi tapes generally have a matte finish, whereas the PET tapes have a shiny finish. I'm also hoping to create a video where I'll use up the entire roll of one of these tapes to see how many cards I can create with one washi tape and how many different designs I can come up with and roughly how much it costs per card to do that. This is a set of 5 washi tapes and it's called Cozy Celebrations. Here's the first roll. I've already taken a couple off the roll. It didn't come like that. These ones are already cut around, so you can peel them off like stickers, no fussy cutting needed. And I need to let you know about the deal they have right now too. If you purchase $75 worth, they send you a free set worth $23.95, and I'll show you it afterwards as I've already played with those tapes, so you already have some ideas on how to use them as well. Part of this set is these 2 thinner style rolls too, of which I can't seem to keep in a straight line. So okay, next one is a set of 3 washi tapes called Jingle Paws, and it has lots of sweet mice, rabbits and a fox. It's very cute. These are all stickers again, like the last set, and there's so many different cute pictures to create with here. I've already scribbled down lots of ideas as I was going through the tapes, and sometimes the hardest part is having the ideas rather than the creating side, isn't it? So I was really happy with how quickly ideas sprung to mind when seeing these. So now I'm going to get started on the cards themselves using the first PET tape called Creekside Farms. And I'll cut the first set of images and sentiments, just one of each design. That's a lot of different designs on the one roll, isn't it? I'll quickly fussy cut around each one as I don't want too much shine around the images, but I don't have to be too careful about it. You can leave them as is and just cut in between each image if you want to. PET tape is very easy to cut through. It's not like cutting through paper. So if you have any hand or cutting issues, you may still be able to cut these very easily. I needed to have my overhead lights on today as it was a bit overcast. I hope this doesn't bother you too much. I love these. We have a warm Christmas as we're coming into summer. Our summer in Australia starts December 1st. So sometimes we have a scorching hot Christmas day. But I still love creating winter scene cards too though. And I'm going to use this old paper pack from Die Cuts with a View, also known as DCWV. And the paper pad is called a Christmas Tree as it has some lovely subtle and green papers in it. I thought it won't detract from the beautiful images I'm creating with. But it's a very old one and I'm not sure if you'd be able to find it now, but you may have it in your stash. So I want to create baubles for this first card. So I'll use a couple of circle dies to die cut the images. And I'll add the tape to some wood look paper. I think this brings extra warmth to the images too. So to separate the image from the backing, I find rolling it off the backing works best. I love this fireplace image, so I want to make sure you can see the fireplace well. I'm going to move the circle die around to find the best placement to die cut it. I wasn't sure if I was going to add the sentiment to the wood paper as well, but I didn't feel it showed up as much as I'd liked, so I'm going to add it to some thick white card instead. I'll pop them all through my die cutting machine. If you don't have a die cutting machine or circle dies, you can use any circular items like a carper glass or tape, etc., to trace around if you've got the right size, and then you can cut it. It won't give you perfect circles, but it will work well enough for this. I'm also die cutting a rectangle of pattern paper, which is the same size as my card. You don't need to die cut it. I'm mostly doing it because I have the room on my cutting plates to cut it at the same time as the circles. I do love having such large cutting plates for that type of thing. And then I'll use double-sided tape to fix the paper to the card. And when I do this, I usually take off the right-hand side line of tape first. Then I align the paper to the folded side of the card, the left-hand side. And once I'm happy with the lining up, I'll push down the right-hand side where the tape is, and that secures the paper in place. And then I can take off the other tapes. If I take all the lines of tape off at once, it's a lot more difficult to ensure the correct placement. I'll move these around. 3 of an item looks lovely. If I chose 4, it might be too many, and if it was 2, I would be better off making them one size larger. I'm going to use some of my thin foam tape so they sit off the card as well. I don't feel like there's enough interest in the background, so I'm going to die cut this piece of green paper with a stitched slimline die. And I love being able to use slimline dies for my rectangle cards if I just want stitched sides on my card. Although in this case, I'm going to use 3 sides of the slimline die here. I'm going to use some twine to make bows for my baubles. I'm not the best bow maker, but I'm sure the recipient of the card won't mind. I use a lollipop stick to help me make them, but it does mean I have an extra little loop. Please create your own bows however you would do them. I won't be doing a tutorial on them. So I've turned the card over and I'm just going to cut off the overhanging paper I don't need. I'm not measuring, I just want to make sure it's fairly even, but I haven't stuck it down as I want to stick some twine between the papers so the baubles look like they're hanging from the twine. So I'll add some double-sided tape to the back of the paper and also one line across the top so I can stick the twine down onto it. And I'll secure the twine to the bauble before adding the bauble to the card. I'll add some scrap white card so the paper is more even on the card, seeing as it has small bits of twine at the top. And so I'll skim through this. I really want you to watch the making of all the cards. I can't wait to hear which is your favourite, especially as one of the cards my husband did not like at all. But when I asked my 19-year-old son his favourite, it was the one my hubby didn't like. So you can never tell. Everyone always likes a different card, so it's fun to hear about. And thank you so much when you do leave me comments. I love reading them. I'll pop an acrylic block on the card so the glue adheres the bows to the card securely, and then I can get onto the second card. I'm going to use the same green paper. I love the shades of green in this paper and the subtle background. I'll die cut a rectangle the same size as my card as I want it to cover the card front. I love both sides of this other paper, so I need to decide which looks best, and again I'll opt for the warmth of a wood paper. I'll add the PET tapes to the wood paper and I'm going to add them on top of each other, layering them up. It all looks like one large image doing it like this, which is one of the best things about PET tape over washi tape. Washi tapes have a milky coloured border often, so adding them on top of each other doesn't give a combined effect like adding these do with their transparent background. I'll die cut it out with a large circle die, and then I'm going to give it a border by die cutting an even larger circle from the green paper. I'll cut off the overhanging part of the circle, and then I'll use thin foam tape to cover both the circle image and the background paper. This is trickier as I needed to take the backing off all of the paper at once, so I need to make sure I've placed it in the correct position. I'll start by concentrating on one of the folding corners, and as long as I've added that straight, I can always cut anything else off if it's not 100% covering. When I'm putting on this circle, I'm concentrating on all the white background being similar widths. I can always cut off any extra overhang or cut the side of the card slightly. It'll notice much more if the circles don't match up very well. I've cut a very thin strip of gold paper, added some glue to stick it down just to give a little sparkle to the card too. I'll line it up with my cutting mat to make sure it's fairly even on the card. To finish off the card, I'll add some white Nuvo drops where the dots are on the pattern paper. I may add a couple of extras too if I feel there's a blank space. And the circle and the rectangle borders have stitch borders, which I think look lovely with these homey images. I liked how those Nuvo drops looked on that background, so I'll go back to the first card now the glue's dried, and I'll add some to that background too. Oh, and look what happens. Have you ever done this? I'm going to clean it up as quickly as I can. I'll use my craft knife to get closer to the dot as my fingers may smudge it more. I can't even tell on the card which dot it was now, so it's all good and fixed. The third card was in all our top twos. There's 4 of us here today, so that's pretty good, hey? I'm going to again create a little scene, and this time I'm using some uniquely creative paper packs. One is different wood styles and the other is different brick papers. Each of the brick papers has one style with larger bricks and the other side is a smaller version of the bricks, so they suit all situations. I'll choose the warm red brick wall and a brown timber for the flooring, and this will create my background. I'll roughly cut out a piece of the brick wall, and the wood paper was already a small scrap, so I'll add some double-sided tape to the wood piece to adhere them together. Then I can die cut them out as one piece to fit the card front. You can just add them both separately and cut off any excess paper to create exactly the same look if you don't have the die cutting facilities. I'm going to arrange and rearrange the images, overlapping a few of them to create my scene again. Once I'm happy with how they look, I'll stick them all down. And then here's the finished card. What do you think of it? I know it's a little more difficult to see because of the lights on it. It's not as shiny in real life as what it's showing up because it's got spotlights on it. You'll see it better in the photos at the end. And on to the fourth card now, and I'm going to cut a piece of paper just a smidge larger than my card. I wasn't sure if to tell you this is the controversial one or not. I love how it turned out, and my daughter and son liked it too. It was just hubby that thought it was too busy. The kids thought it was pretty cool. So I'm going to add lots of these gorgeous images on the brick wall paper, overlapping and not overthinking it, just having fun with it and excited to see how it will look. I can't wait to hear what you think, positive or negative. Let me know in the comments section which is your favourite card, and I'm happy to hear what's your least fave too. I'll speed this up a little bit, but I know some of you will want to see how it's all added together, so I'll leave it all in bar the peeling the backings off. Just about finished, so I'll die cut it out with a smaller rectangle. I had the idea of using this die cut sentiment circle, but I just don't like it anywhere on the card. Sometimes this happens, doesn't it? And I'll definitely be able to keep it for another card because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not right for this card. Instead, I've decided to add a few more of the fun sentiment stickers to it and not have a central sentiment at all. I was thinking I'll have a nice white border which brings attention to the white fireplace, but I changed my mind as usual. So I'm trying out different papers, and again I decide on the green paper. I feel it's too dark with just the two papers, and I really like the green paper with the busyness of the collage and the white card, so I'll use all three. I'll add the collage to the white card and cut around it, then add it to the top left corner of the card. What do you think of this card? Is it too busy for you or lots of interest? I still felt like I wanted to add a sentiment, so I tried a die cut sentiment in metallic red mounted on white card, but it didn't stand out, and I've decided for the second time round it just doesn't need a sentiment. I'm finding it really annoying that the day I'm using a shiny item is the day I needed to have my lights on. I'll know next time, as when I'm recording I can't always check these things. This is just another learning lesson for me and my channel. They look really good in real life. They don't look shiny like when the light's on them like that. Okay, the fifth and final card. I'll create another scene card. Do you like scene cards? But back to this card, and I'm going to choose a brown flooring again, but a white brick wall this time. I'll show you a quick way to cover your card if you don't have rectangle dies. I'll add double-sided tape to the card, making sure to go close to the edges of the card. Then I'll add the paper to the card, then cut around the card. This ensures the paper fits perfectly onto the card front, no measuring anything. My usual way, which I'm not sure why I didn't do here, is to place the card over the paper rather than add the paper to the card. Luckily, I think I've shown this technique before, but maybe I'll show it again soon. I also had another issue here, and that was I hadn't thought about the brick pattern and if it had a right side up. It has slight shadows on one side of the brick pattern, so it has to go shadow side down or it looks a little strange. So an easy fix if you add the paper wrong side up is to cut the card in half and add the front to another card. This may not be the cheapest way if your blank cards are expensive to buy, but it saves the paper. I want to add a bit of shading to the flooring, so I'll lightly ink the top of the floor. Once I've added it to the card, I can then lightly ink around the rest of it. I'm using Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. I love this shade of brown. It seems to go with anything. I used to love creating children's cards with scenes on them, but I don't do that so often anymore. I do have another video I need to edit where I've created gardening scenes, so hopefully you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and hit the notifications bell so you'll be notified when I upload it soon. I'm going to doodle around the edges with my black marker. It's a size 3 nib. I change this later, so don't take too much notice of it. I feel like the shelf doesn't stand out against the white brick wall, my error, so I'll use my grey lead pencil and add some shadows to help it stand out more. Whenever adding shadows, make sure to keep it on the same angles for every item. I decide the sentiment is too small for the card, and I had a different one in mind earlier, so I'll change it up. This tape sits very securely on the card, but you can peel them off slowly and carefully. This is in real time here, and always peel them towards you and as close to the paper as possible to avoid any papers coming up with them. Also, if they've been settled on a card for a day or so, I don't think it'd be worth trying to move. That goes for most tapes. I thought this sparkly black paper had an adhesive backing, but it didn't, so I've added some double-sided tape to it. The tape was wider than the paper, so I'll just slice off the overhanging bits of tape. You could also just fold the extra tape under the paper if you wanted. Either way works. Or better yet, use a tape that's not as wide as the strip of paper. I'll add this to the card, and I'm still not satisfied with the results yet. So I'll add some black lines either side of the sparkly paper. Now I'll add some Nouveau crystal drops in ripened pumpkin gloss colour to the tree and a few near the sentiment. I will have the links and names to everything that I've used below. There's not a lot that I've used today. I'll slap the card onto a washi tape to give the Nouveau drops a perfectly round finish. I decided to go around the edge of the card again, but this time with a 0.6 marker nib. The numbers determine the size of the nib, so the smaller the number size, the smaller the nib. So 0.6 is the thickest of the set of 3 I use from Uniquely Creative. It's not a huge difference on this card, but it does really help to finish the card, as I'm also going to add some faux stitching loose ends to it as well. I'll finish it off using the little home sentiment in the corner. And that finishes the last card. Did you get any new ideas from this video? I hope so. So overall, I haven't used many supplies to create these 5 cards. I'll have product links to everything I used if possible. And don't forget, the washi tape shop has a great special on right now. If you spend $75, you'll receive a 3 washi tape set worth almost $24. I've used these tapes before, so I'll make the video at the end of this be the one showing those washi tape cards with a few other ideas in that video for you. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how these were made today, and now you'll be able to see them all again properly here, as well as photos of them straight after too. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked any of the cards, and I'll try to create some more new videos coming up within the next couple of weeks or so using the other Christmas tapes I showed earlier. Thanks again for watching. I hope I've inspired you a little. Happy crafting, and bye for now.